The human ship, Titan's Wrath, dropped out of warp space with a loud thud that echoed through the control room like a deep breath after holding it for too long. The stars around them blinked, and a burning red planet appeared ahead. It looked like it was bleeding fire from 1,000 wounds. Captain Reyes stood at the front window of the ship, his jaw tight. Is New Altheron? He asked, though he already knew the answer. Yes, sir, replied Lieutenant Grimes. This is the planet that sent the last beacon. We received it 8 days ago. No new signals since. The planet was dying. From orbit, the crew could see entire cities turn to ash. Firestorms swept across the land like waves. Strange black shapes moved across the surface, too large to be machines, too many to be natural. Reyes narrowed his eyes. Get me visuals. Zoom in. The screen flickered and focused on a city, or what was left of it. Buildings had melted into strange lumps of twisted metal and stone. Roads had become rivers of glowing lava. In the center of it all stood a dark, pulsing tower that didn't belong, that it was alive. The Varnock, whispered Dr. Hannah Velez, the ship's xenobiologist. She stepped closer to the screen, her face pale. Alive? Reyes asked. That tower, she nodded. It's a hive, grown, not built. Those black shapes you see, those are the workers, the harvesters. They melt cities to gather material, then they build these towers to birth more of their kind. They're farming entire worlds, Reyes said, his voice hard. The room fell quiet. Then, the comms officer turned. Sir, we're receiving a weak distress signal. It's coming from the surface, 100 kilometers west of the tower. Reyes didn't hesitate. Prep drop pods. I want eyes down there. We came to help, and we're damn well going to try. 10 minutes later, to drop pods cut through the smoke-choked skies of New Altheron. Inside one of them, Sergeant Mason gripped his harness and looked at the others in his squad. You all trained for this, but this isn't training. This is real. Stay sharp, follow orders, and whatever you do, do not split up. The pods shook violently as they neared the ground. Fire and debris flew past the windows. Then impact. The pods slammed into blackened soil. The doors hissed open. What they saw was worse than any training simulation. The ground was covered in ash bones and melted metal. Strange black vines slithered across the dirt like veins, pumping glowing green liquid. In the distance, the hive tower loomed, pulsing with light and sound like a beating heart. Movement, one of the soldiers shouted, raising their weapon. Shapes were crawling across the ruined streets, four-legged, spiny, with no eyes and mouths full of spinning teeth. The VARNAK. Mason cursed. Weapons hot. Defend the pods. The first Varnak creature leaped. It moved like a blur, its legs making no sound. Mason pulled the trigger. The gun spat blue plasma. The creature exploded mid-air, spraying dark fluid that sizzled on the ground. Then more came. Dozens. From the shadows. From the wreckage they attacked like a wave. But humanity didn't come unarmed. The soldiers formed a circle, guns blazing. In every direction, explosives were thrown. Flamethrowers roared. Screams filled the air, alien and human alike. One soldier fell, then another. Hold the line, Mason shouted. Then a sharp, high-pitched noise filled the air. Everyone froze. The creatures stopped. From the edge of the ruins, a small figure walked toward them. It wasn't Varnick. It was an alien child. The child collapsed near the soldiers, too weak to stand. Her skin was pale blue, covered in dirt and blood. Her eyes were wide with terror. Behind her, more figures appeared, survivors, maybe a dozen, starving, injured, hiding. Mason lowered his weapon, mimetic now. As the soldiers helped the survivors into the pod, the child pointed to the sky and spoke in a trembling voice. Dr. Velez, watching from the ship through the soldier's body cam, translated quickly. She says, more are coming. Big ones, flyers. She calls them sky eaters. Reyes didn't wait. Pull them out, he ordered. Get those people up here, now. The pods launched just as the sky turned black. Massive Varnak flyers, shaped like stingrays with steel wings and glowing mouths, descended from the clouds. They spat green fire, melting metal like butter. The drop pods shot upward, dodging blasts. One pod was hit. It spun, burning. Inside, a soldier screamed. Then silence. The other pod made it. Inside, Titan's Wrath. The crew watched the survivors step onto the deck. Most were too shocked to speak. The child stared at the humans like they were ghosts. Then she pointed to Reyes and whispered something. Velez translated. She says, they thought no one would come, but we did. Reyes nodded. And we're not leaving. 3 hours later, the crew gathered for a war meeting. Reyes stood at the head of the table. We've seen enough, he said. The Varnock don't just destroy, they devour. That tower is their hive. If we take it out, we slow them down. Velez raised a concern. They'll fight harder than before. If we hit the hive, they'll come with everything. Reyes looked around the room. That's fine, because now they know someone fights back. He turned to the weapons officer. Charge the main rail cannon. I want a shot through the tower's heart. The Titan's Wrath moved into position over the tower. The ship's massive rail cannon began to glow, energy charged. The hive tower responded. Hundreds of Varnock creatures crawled up its sides, shrieking. More flyers appeared. Then fire. A beam of pure force punched through the sky and slammed into the tower. For a moment, it looked like nothing happened. Then the tower cracked and screamed. It was not a building. It was a being. It split open, spraying black and green liquid. Fire burst from within. The shrieks of the Varnock grew louder, and then turned into chaos. That they attacked. Thousands of Varnock swarmed toward the human ship. The Titan's Wrath fired. Every weapon it had. Drones were launched. Cannons thundered. Missiles tore through the sky. But they just kept coming. Inside the ship, alarms blared. Damage reports poured in. We're losing shields, Grimes shouted. They're on the hull. Another officer yelled. Reyes stood firm. We hold, or we die. Then, in the middle of the chaos, something incredible happened. The alien child, the one they saved, walked to the ship's control deck. She pressed her small hand against a glowing panel. Light spread. The ship's systems surged. Weapons powered up. Shields grew stronger. Dr. Velez gasped. She's activating old tech hidden in our systems. The ship roared back to life. With renewed power, the humans fought back. Rail cannons fired again. The hive collapsed. Varnock flyers were burned from the sky. The tower fell and the creatures went silent. The field below was filled with smoke, fire, and finally, peace. Captain Reyes stood over the battlefield, watching from the observation deck. That was just one planet, he said quietly. Dr. Velez nodded. There are more signals, more cries for help. Reyes clenched his fist. Then we answer all of them, one by one, with fire. The smoke had not yet cleared from the battlefield on New Altheron when Captain Reyes had stood again on the bridge of Titan's Wrath. His eyes were on the stars beyond, but his mind was still down there among the ash, the bones, and the creatures that screamed as they died. There were too many, Reyes muttered. But we won, said Dr. Velez beside him. Reyes shook his head. That was just a part of them, a piece of the puzzle. Just then, an alert chimed. Sir, Lieutenant Grimes said, frowning at the data. We're picking up energy signatures in nearby systems, at least 7 of them. All the same as the Varnock hive we just destroyed. 7, that meant 7 more planets, 7 more burning worlds. They were never protecting that hive, Reyes said. It was a factory, a distraction, and we fell for it. Hours later, in a nearby star system, the human ship, escorted by a few smaller support vessels, moved quietly toward the next signal. There was no fire this time, no smoke. The planet below was green, peaceful, too peaceful. Something's wrong, said Sergeant Mason, checking his helmet cam. I've got a bad feeling. We've had bad feelings since we left Earth, muttered one of his team. The drop shuttle lowered toward the planet's surface. Trees waved in soft wind. Birds chirped. It was like nothing had ever happened here, until they reached the village. It was completely empty. Tables still had food on them. Cups were half full. Chairs were tipped over. No bodies, Mason said, crouching to inspect the dirt. No blood. Tracks, whispered a soldier. Look, dozens of them, all leading. Underground, they followed the trail to a large stone temple. Ancient, cracked. Inside was dark. The moment they stepped in, their lights flickered. Then they heard it. Breathing, low, deep, and not human. Fall back, Mason shouted. But it was too late. From the darkness the Varnock came, not crawling, not flying, but walking upright. Taller than a man, wearing armor, holding weapons. What the hell? One soldier cried, firing. The new Varnock returned fire. Green energy tore through one Marine's chest. Screams echoed. Explosions shook the cave. Mason threw a grenade. The roof collapsed behind them, sealing the creatures inside for now. Back on Titan's Wrath, Reyes watched the footage with a stone-cold face. They're learning, he said. 1 day later, emergency meeting on the ship. They're copying us, Dr. Velez said, adapting to human strategies. The first ones attacked like animals. They moved like trained soldiers, Grimes added. Our last battle taught them something. We hit them hard, and now they know how to hit back. Reyes leaned forward. We made a mistake. We thought they were just monsters, but They are not only alive, they are smart. Every victory we have teaches them how to defeat us. He looked at the star map, and they're spreading. Meanwhile, on a Varnak command ship deep in dark space, the Varnak Queen stood within a massive black chamber. She was connected to machines by glowing wires, her body pulsating with energy. Holograms of Earth's soldiers moved in the air around her. She watched, learned, calculated. A low clicking language echoed around her as drones brought her weapons. Human weapons, scanned, studied, rebuilt. Her eyes, sharp and red, locked onto one image. Captain Reyes. She reached out with her long claw and tapped it. A new order was born. Back aboard Titan's Wrath, a message arrived, an alien transmission. It was decoded quickly. "It's not a call for help," said Velez. "It's a warning. From the Azari, a peaceful species that's been hiding for generations." "What does it say?" asked Reyes. She read aloud. "You have awakened the swarm. They were asleep until your fire touched them. Now they will not stop. They do not just destroy, they consume the minds of those they conquer. The more you fight, the smarter they become. Leave this war, or become part of them." Reyes stood in silence. Then he replied, "Tell them we're not running." That night aboard the ship in the sleeping quarters, Private Bell couldn't sleep. His dreams were full of clicking sounds and black eyes. He sat up, sweating. Then he heard a whisper. "Bell." He turned. No one there, but the whisper came again. "Bell, we see you," he screamed. Security rushed in. He was shaking, crying, "They're inside my head." Medica scanned him and found strange patterns in his brainwaves. Echoes. Dr. Velez whispered the one word no one wanted to say: infection. The Varnak were starting to hijack minds. Reyes' orders changed that morning. "We're going dark," he told the crew. "From now on, all transmissions are closed. No signals in or out unless I say so. No one is allowed near the hive bodies without armor and psychic blockers." He paused. "If anyone hears voices, report immediately." Then, he spoke the hardest line of all. "If infection spreads, we cut it out. No second chances." Room went quiet. Everyone knew what that meant. Later, on the next planet, the ship dropped near a rocky world where another hive was growing, but something was different here. The Varnak had built walls, turrets, defenses they've never built defenses before, said Grimes. "It's like they expected us." Reyes looked over the battlefield. "That's because they did. A trap." The humans fought their way through wave after wave. Drones exploded. Soldiers fell. Reyes led the charge personally. Then the sky darkened again. A new kind of Varnak appeared, taller, faster. It looked almost human, but its face was wrong. To smooth its eyes familiar. Reyes froze. "It copied one of us," he whispered. Then the thing spoke in English. "You taught us war, now we teach you pain." The battle was brutal. Reyes lost 12 men, but they destroyed the hive. Barely. When they returned to orbit, no one cheered. The mistake had been clear. They thought brute force would win this war, but they had underestimated the enemy. The Varnak were not animals. They were evolving, and now they were becoming human. Final scene. Reyes stood at the window, staring at the stars again. Behind him, Dr. Velez said softly, "We've woken something old and angry." He replied, "Then we put it back to sleep. But this time, we aim for the brain." The ship turned. Its next destination, the Varnak command ship. No more playing defense. Now, humanity brings the war to them. The stars were silent, but the fear was loud inside Titan's Wrath. Captain Reyes stood in front of the crew. His eyes looked tired, and his voice was firm. "We've seen what they can do. They learn, they copy, they evolve. But this war isn't over, not even close." The lights dimmed, and the hologram of a planet appeared in the center of the room. It was dark and full of metal spikes rising from its surface like claws. "This is Coravel," said Lieutenant Grimes. "It used to be a trade world, now it's a graveyard. No survivors. But signals say something new is being built there." Dr. Velez frowned. "It's not a hive, it's a factory. A living one." Reyes nodded. "Then we're not waiting for it to finish." 12 hours later, orbit above Coravel's planet was covered in black clouds. The sky flashed with lightning. Below, the land pulsed like skin under pressure. Buildings moved. Towers breathed. The Varnak were creating something unnatural. Not just more soldiers, but something different. Reyes ordered a long-range scan. "What are we looking at?" he asked. Grimes answered, voice tense. "Some kind of core, a central brain. It's alive, bigger than anything we've seen, and guarded." Reyes asked. "Like hell itself," Grimes said. On the ground, the first encounter, Sergeant Mason led his strike team through the broken streets of Coravel. They were quiet, alert. Nothing moved. Then a soft hum filled the air. Above them, a Massive shadow passed. The soldiers froze. Out of the smoke came something horrible, not walking, not flying, floating. It was a Varnak, but it had no face. Just a giant, glowing eye in the center of its body. Metal tendrils floated around it, sparking with energy. What the hell is that? Someone whispered. Then the eye looked at them, and they felt it. The mental attack one by one. Soldiers dropped to their knees, screaming. Voices filled their heads. You don't belong. Leave. Leave, or become. Mason activated his psychic blocker. It buzzed sharply, and the voices vanished. He pulled up the fallen troops and shouted, "Everyone, blockers on!" The creature began to attack with energy blasts. The team fought back, but plasma shots passed right through it. "It's not physical," Mason yelled. "It's a projection. It's trying to kill us with our own minds." They ran back on the ship. Velez watched the feed with horror. This is something new. It doesn't want to just kill us. It wants to break our minds. Control us. Reyes nodded slowly. Then we stop holding back. He opened a locked drawer and removed a small keycard. He handed it to Grimes. "Activate Black Protocol. We use the neuroburner." Grimes hesitated. "Sir, that weapon's never been tested." Reyes looked him in the eye. "Then let's test it on something that isn't supposed to exist." Preparing the neuroburner. Neuroburner was Earth's most dangerous mental weapon. It didn't destroy bodies. It burned minds. Even machines with AI systems feared it. They had kept it locked because it could also hurt friendly soldiers nearby. But now, there was no other choice. The ship flew into low orbit. The device was aimed at the factory brain. Firing in 5, 4, 3 on the planet. The floating eye screamed, a sound heard only in the mind. The world shook. Fire. The results: a bright wave of invisible energy spread across the land. Every psychic Varnak, every mental creature, collapsed in silence. The factory slowed. For one moment, it seemed like Earth had finally won. Until the factory stood back up. Not alive, but rebuilt. The unthinkable happens. The factory had learned from the burner. It adapted, and now it had grown shields against it. Reyes stared in shock. "They can't be killed," he whispered. "Not in any normal way." Dr. Velez replied quietly, "Not unless we destroy their mind." "Their central mind?" Reyes asked. "Where is it?" She shook her head. "I don't know. It's not here. This is just a piece of it." Then the lights flickered. All over the ship. "Infection begins." Again screens blinked. Crew members heard whispers. One engineer screamed and ran toward the engine room, mumbling in a language that wasn't Earth's. Security chased him, but he had already opened a panel and planted a Varnak device. Boom. Small explosion. No major damage, but enough that the ship was compromised. "Emergency protocol. Quarantine." Reyes gave the order. "Seal the lower deck. No one goes in. Anyone who shows signs of mental control is to be restrained." He walked to the viewing window. "There, inside us now," he said. "Even if we kill their bodies, they live in minds, data, dreams." Velez joined him. "Then the real enemy is not their army," she said. "It's their intelligence. The Queen, or whatever, is guiding them all." Reyes nodded. "We find it, we kill it, or we fall." A new plan. They couldn't fight this war like a normal war anymore. Reyes called the remaining fleet captains. A conference began. He shared what they had learned. They evolved too fast. Every victory makes them smarter, but that's also their weakness. How? One admiral asked. Reyes looked at him and said, "They're connected. One mind, one network. We cut the brain, the body dies." Silence. Then he continued, "We find the Queen. We don't burn her from orbit. We send in a team, face to face. No more distance. No more hiding." Final scene. Building the strike teams. Mason, Dr. Velez, 2 AI drones, and a silent recon operative named Cade were selected. Their mission: find the core, find the Queen, end it. They trained in silence. Everyone knew what it meant. A one-way trip, but no one backed out as they boarded the stealth shuttle. Reyes watched them go. "We called ourselves Protectors of the Galaxy," he said quietly. "Time to prove it." The shuttle flew into the dark toward the place where the enemy's mind lived, toward the heart of the Varnak. The stealth shuttle, codenamed Whisperfang, moved through dead space in total silence. No lights, no signals, no sound. Inside, the strike team prepared for what might be humanity's final mission. Captain Reyes had given only one order before. They left: find a mind, end the war. Sergeant Mason checked his weapon. All systems green. No tech from Earth will work inside that hive. We go old school: blades, burners, and hard instincts. Dr. Velez looked nervous. She carried only a small data scanner and a nerve pistol. "I've seen what the Varnak do to minds," she whispered. "We'll need more than instincts." Beside her sat Cade. silent as always. No one really knew his past. Just that he was Earth's best at infiltration. He didn't talk, he didn't miss. The shuttle neared the Varnak command world. And for the first time, the stars faded. The surface of Nithrazar, the Queen's world Nithrazar, didn't look like a planet. It looked like a wound in space, black, breathing, covered in hive towers that stretched miles high. The ground moved like skin. The sky was filled with thick red clouds. When the shuttle landed, Mason stepped out first. The air's poison, he said, checking his visor, but breathable with filters. The ground squished beneath their boots. Cade led the way toward a tunnel carved into a tower's side. Smooth walls, living texture, glowing veins. As they entered, the light behind them faded. The hive swallowed them. Meanwhile, in orbit, Captain Reyes and Titan's Wrath stayed hidden behind a dead moon. But he wasn't just watching, he was calling for help. A coded message was sent through old Earth-based frequencies. Short, simple bursts meant for one group only, the exiles. These were humans who had left Earth decades ago, war criminals, AI rebels, rogue engineers, scattered across the stars. They had the kind of tech Earth had banned, and Reyes needed it now. The message said, "The Varnak are not just coming, they are everywhere. Fight with us, or die alone." Answer from the shadows 2 hours later. A response arrived. A massive ship uncloaked near the moon, black, spiked, and unlike anything Reyes had seen. Aboard was a being wrapped in armor and shadow. His voice came through the speakers. "If called, we answer, but not for Earth, for vengeance." It was Warlord Threx, leader of the exile clans. Behind him were 4 more ships, old, broken, but heavily armed. Reyes smiled. "A pact, then," he said. Threx replied, "A pact of iron and blood." The exiles had joined the war. Back inside the hive, deep below the surface, the strike team moved slowly. Varnak drones watched from the walls but didn't attack. It was too quiet, too calm. "They're letting us come," Veles said. "Like they're waiting." Mason frowned. "We don't wait, we move." Suddenly, they entered a large chamber and stopped. In front of them stood an alien, not Varnak, not human. She was tall, blue-skinned, eyes glowing. Wounds on her arms showed cybernetic implants. She was chained to the wall, but her mind was clear. "I am Alari," she said. "The last of the Varethi." Velez stepped forward. "We thought your species was extinct." "We were," Alari replied, "until the Varnak took our minds and wore our bodies." Mason raised his weapon. "Why are you still alive?" She looked up. "Because I refused to break, and now I will help you kill the Queen." "The pact is Selad," Alari explained quickly. "The Queen of the Varnak was not in one place. She existed in every hive, but her core was hidden deep beneath Nith. It was protected by a living fortress and a sea of warriors. You'll never reach her with weapons," Alari warned. "But there is a path through the Forgotten Spiral." Cade simply nodded and started moving. Time was running out. The battle begins in orbit back in space. The Varnak finally detected the fleet. A wave of bioships rose from Nithrazar, flying like swarms of insects. Reyes turned to Threx, ready. Threx grinned, his metal teeth shining. "Let them come." The Titan's Wrath opened fire. Railguns lit the dark. Exile ships launched ion spikes and energy nets. One ship exploded. Another turned and rammed into the enemy with a nuclear core. Fought like they had nothing to lose. Because they didn't. Deep below into the spiral, the strike team entered the Forgotten Spiral. A twisting tunnel of light and sound that attacked the mind. Voices whispered. Walls shifted. Cade walked forward, unaffected. Velez collapsed, screaming. Mason lifted her. "Keep it together." They passed the bodies of others, aliens who had tried and failed. Suddenly, the Queen spoke, not with sound but into their minds. "You crawl toward me. I see your pain. I will wear your faces. I will sing your songs." Mason spat on the floor. "Not today." The Queen revealed at the spiral's end stood a black chamber filled with light. In its center was a giant, floating shape, smooth, shapeless, glowing from inside. It pulsed like a brain. This was her. The Queen core. Cade pulled a blade from his back, not metal, but a weapon made of dark matter. Only that could cut something this ancient. Alari stepped forward. "One strike. That's all it takes." Cade ran. Varnik guards dropped from the ceiling. Mason opened fire. "Protect the strike." Cade moved like a ghost. Slashed once. The Queen screamed. Every hive across the galaxy reacted suddenly. All Varnak forces everywhere stopped. Some exploded, others screamed and collapsed. In orbit, the enemy ships lost control. Human and exile forces crushed them in seconds. Inside the hive, the ground shook. "It's working," Velez cried. The Queen tried to reform, but Cade struck again and again until the core cracked and fell apart. Escape and Sacrificialari led them toward a rising tunnel, but something blocked their path, a collapsing wall. Cade turned without a word. Held the wall, go, Mason said. Cade nodded once and stayed behind as the others escaped. The tunnel caved in. The Queen was dead, but so was Cade. The aftermath hours later. Back on Titan's Wrath, Reyes looked at the quiet planet below. Varnock were gone, but the cost had been high. Mason and Velez stood beside him. We made a pact with outlaws, Mason said. We walked into hell, Velez added, and we killed a god. Reyes looked out at the stars. Now the galaxy knows. What happens when Earth answers a call for help? The stars were no longer silent. For weeks after the Queen's core was destroyed, no Varnock attack came, no whispers, no signals, no warships. The galaxy held its breath, hoping the nightmare was over, but deep in dark space, something still moved. Captain Reyes knew it before anyone else. This isn't the end, he told his crew aboard Titan's Wrath. That was only the Queen's mind. The heart is still beating somewhere, and when it rises, it will burn every world that ever said no. He turned to Dr. Velez. Where is it? She didn't speak right away. Then she slowly pointed to the hologram of the galaxy. There, she said. The Varnock homeworld. Hidden behind a collapsing star, inside a dead zone, nothing enters, nothing leaves. Reyes smiled coldly. Then will be the first. The final journey begins. The galaxy had seen what humanity could do. Now they saw what it meant to finish the fight. Over 40 human warships, 12 exile destroyers, and 7 alien fleets gathered in the shadow of the dead star system known as Karthik's Deep. The entrance to the Varnock's homeworld lay beyond a hole in space that pulsed like an open wound. Reyes stood before the combined armada. Today, he said over fleet-wide comms, we don't fight for Earth, we don't fight for peace. We fight because someone screamed for help and we were the ones who answered. If we fall, let the stars burn knowing we tried. If we win, let them never forget. The fleets moved in, entering the Varnock world the moment they crossed the event boundary. Every screen went black, then the sky changed. The Varnock homeworld was not just a planet, it was alive. A massive sphere of flesh, metal and pulsing energy. Giant arms of bone and steel circled its surface. Moons orbiting it were not natural, they were eggs, each the size of a city. And in the sky above it all floated the true Varnock command brain, a massive being miles long, shaped like a duck, serpent of smoke and glass. This is what they've been building, Dr. Velez whispered. A god made of everything they've consumed. Reyes gave the order. Begin planetary strike. The battle begins. The Varnock awoke. Hive towers, on the surface, opened like flowers of death, launching swarms of ships. Energy beams flew in every direction. Human dreadnoughts responded with fury. Nuclear payloads lit the sky. The exiles launched plasma storms, tearing enemy fleets apart. For the first hour, the humans held. Then the homeworld fought back. A living planet fights from the surface. The planet sent out pulses, sound waves, that shattered holes. Ships twisted, broke apart in mid-space. Alien allies screamed over comms. One fleet vanished in a blink. They're attacking through sound. Velez shouted. Reyes gave a new order. All ships engage. Eco-shielding blocked a frequency. Some survived, others didn't. Still, they pushed forward. The infiltration begins back in the shuttle bay. Sergeant Mason prepared one last team. Their mission: land on the surface, reach the center, and plant the final warhead, the grav core, a bomb designed to collapse the entire planet from within. Alari, the last Varethi, stood beside him. Her hands shook, but her eyes burned with revenge. This place took my people, she said. Let's take it from them. The shuttle launched. On the surface of Health a moment, the shuttle landed. It was swallowed by the Varnock world. Walls closed behind them. Light vanished. Screams echoed. Mason led the way with a flamethrower, burning the walls alive. They pulsed and bled. Alari followed, placing echo dampeners every 20 meters. Then the ground shifted. Trap, Mason shouted. Dozens of Varnock burst from the walls, tall, armored, glowing with green energy. They moved like demons. The team fought hard, to fell. Another screamed and disappeared into the wall. Mason kept moving. No time, go. The heart of the hive at last. They reached the core. A massive black sphere floated in the center of a chamber. Miles wide. It pulsed like a heartbeat. Alari stepped forward and placed the grav core at its base. A countdown began. 300 seconds. Suddenly, the Queen's voice returned. You cannot erase us. You carry us inside. You teach us how to live. Mason raised his weapon, and now we teach you how to die. Escape or die. The path back was blocked. Walls closed, flesh turned solid. We're not getting out, Alari said. Mason looked at the timer. 180 seconds. He gave the call. Team to open a blast tunnel from orbit. Fire coordinates 991 by 22. Now, from above, Titan's Wrath fired its main cannon. A straight beam of light hit the planet, carving a hole through the surface. Mason and Alari ran. The ground collapsed behind them. At the last second, the shuttle rose out of the tunnel. Behind them, the gravcore exploded. The homeworld burns first. The planet cracked then. It screamed. Massive limbs snapped and shattered. Moons were pulled into the blast. The command brain in orbit tried to flee. Reyes ordered one last strike. All ships focus fire on the brain. Now the combined firepower of Earth, exiles, and alien fleets rained down on it. The sky turned white. Then nothing. Silence. Victory. When the smoke cleared, only debris remained. The Varnak homeworld was gone, and with it, the threat that had haunted the galaxy for generations. On Titan's Wrath, the crew stood in silence. Then cheers erupted. Tears, laughter, shouts of victory. Captain Reyes simply sat down. It's over, he said. But Dr. Velez replied softly, for now. Final scene later, in a quiet chamber, Reyes recorded a message. To any species who hears this, the Varnak came, and we fought. Not because we were strong, but because someone needed help, and we were human. If you need us, call again. Just understand, we don't bring peace, we bring fire. He looked out the window and saw a galaxy finally free. The war was over. The Varnak were gone. What remained was silence, and questions. Captain Reyes stood on the bridge of Titan's Wrath, staring at the broken stars where the Varnak homeworld once floated. There was no cheer in his eyes, no smile. Victory had a cost, and the galaxy had changed. Behind him, Dr. Velez scrolled through reports. 34 ships lost, she said softly. 9 planets saved. 17 alien species freed. But Reyes asked. She hesitated. But Earth has not replied. The silence from Earth for 2 weeks. No message came from home, no signal, no order, no response. Humanity had left Earth united, and now, it was like Earth had disappeared. Reyes tried again. This is Titan's Wrath, flag vessel of the Allied Earth fleet. The Varnak are destroyed. The war is over. Earth, do you copy? Static. Nothing. Strange transmission. Then it came. A single data burst. Encrypted. He gave it to Grimes, who decrypted it. His face went pale. Captain, Grimes said, you need to hear this. The message played. To the fleet, Earth is not safe. The Varnak were not the only ones watching. We are under attack. Not from the sky, from inside. Trust no one. If you return, bring fire. General Koran, Earth Defense Command. A new threat emerges. The crew was shocked. Velez's voice trembled from inside. How? Reyes narrowed his eyes. If something slipped through. If something learned to hide in human minds. He didn't finish the sentence, because the lights on the bridge flickered. A whisper moved through the ship's intercom, soft, like wind through a graveyard. You thought it ended. But we never truly die. Internal lockdown. All hands. Alert, Reyes barked. Level 7 quarantine. Soldiers raced to secure the ship. Scans were run. Crew checked. AI filtered for hidden data implants. In the medical bay, one soldier began screaming. Blood vessels in his face turned black. His eyes burned green. Dr. Velez injected him with a neural inhibitor. But it was too late. He burst into ash. The hidden Varnak code. Velez ran tests on the remains. Her findings were terrifying. The Varnak left something behind, she said. A signal pattern. Not a creature, not a drone, a thought, a living idea. It can hide in minds, she added. Even in code. Especially in code. Grimes froze. Captain, he said. Our AI systems, if even one core caught that signal, it could rebuild. Reyes gave a hard order. Purge every system, burn every backup. From now on we fly on human hands only. A dangerous return. The fleet turned toward Earth. They traveled slowly, carefully, scanning everything. Along the way, they met broken colonies, silent stations, worlds untouched by war, but watching, and finally, Earth. Blue, beautiful, silent orbit. Over Earth no one responded to hails. They saw burning cities, shattered satellites, a defense grid still active, but no command center. The fleet stayed in high orbit. Reyes and his team took a small landing craft down. What they found on the surface shocked them. People were alive, but changed, infected in a once busy town in what used to be Northern Europe. Reyes and Mason walked through the streets. Children, played with glowing stones that hummed with Varnak code. Adults moved in silence, calm, peaceful, emotionless. Velez scanned one of them. They're not dead, she said, but the Varnak signal is inside them, not controlling, merged. One man approached them and spoke in clear English. We were scared, but the voice in the dark brought us peace. You killed it, now we wait. Reyes stared at him. You think you're safe, he asked. The man nodded. We are not alone anymore. The voice protects. The choice back on Titan's wrath. Reyes faced the hardest question of the war. Do we cleanse Earth, or try to save it? Velez said. We can use neural dampeners, blockers, therapy. Maybe in time, we can fix this. Grimes disagreed. It's a trap. They're waiting for the signal to return. Earth is compromised. Mason stayed silent. Then he spoke. The war never ended. It just changed shape. The message Earth sent. Back Reyes recorded one final message. To every world, every species, every voice that can hear. The Varnak are gone but not forgotten. They left seeds in silence, buried in minds, hidden in trust, and Earth. Earth is no longer clean, so listen carefully. If we knock, do not open the door unless you're ready, because humanity is coming home. And if we find our home lost, we'll burn it to build it again. Final scene: the fleet orbits Earth. Unsure. Reyes stands at the window, Velez beside him. What now? She asks. He replies, we saved the galaxy. Now we save ourselves. And in the dark below, Earth waits quiet, calm, and full of whispers. Recap: the Queen was slain. Her body turned to dust. The Varnak hive network collapsed in silence, but victory left behind unease. Some whispers never died, and some wars never end when the last shot is fired. Orbit over a broken hive moon. Captain Reyes watched a quiet world through the glass. Below, the final hive structure stood in ruins. No movement, no life, but something still felt wrong. We destroyed the mind, said Dr. Velez. We saw it. Cade cut it apart. Reyes replied, I believe what I saw, but not what I feel. The signal. Grimes entered the bridge, pale and holding a tablet. Sir, he said, we caught a transmission, weak, scrambled, but definitely human. Reyes raised an eyebrow. From Earth. Grimes shook his head. No, from inside the hive. That got everyone's attention. Play it, Reyes ordered. The sound was broken, but a voice came through clearly. This is Cade. I'm still here, and I'm not alone. The impossible survivor. Sergeant Mason led a drop team into the remains of the hive. They found scorched walls and signs of movement. Half a kilometer down, they saw him standing in darkness, blade in hand. Cade. Alive. Not the same. His skin glowed faintly. His eyes flickered. It's me, he said. But I brought something back. Infection unknown. Avoid Titan's wrath. Cade was scanned. Nothing unusual, no signs of control, no Varnak code. But Velez noticed strange brainwave patterns. Cade, she asked, what do you remember? He stared out the window. I remember her voice, the Queen dying, crying, and then silence. He turned to her, but the silence is thinking now. Across the stars, reports flooded in. Colonies on the edge of the galaxy began receiving odd signals, dreams, whispers, people seeing shapes in the dark. The Varnak were dead, but their ideas were still alive. Living inside minds. Inside machines. Inside memory. Reyes clenched his jaw. They didn't need bodies to survive, just information. Earth responds. A message finally came from Earth. Fleet Commander Reyes, return immediately. Earth Command will not tolerate another threat spreading across human systems. All infected personnel will be purged, including Cade. The bridge went quiet. Mason spoke first. That's not a command. That's a death sentence. The choice had to decide, obey Earth, or protect the man who saved them all. Velez said, Cade's not the enemy, but what's inside him might be. Cade stood quietly in the background. I'm willing, he said. If I turn, end me. Reyes looked out at the stars, then gave the order. We're not going back, not yet. We go where the signal is strongest. Toward the unknown. The fleet changed course, into uncharted space, following the fragments of thought left behind by the Varnak. Not to run, not to hide, but to understand, because if Earth was to survive the future, they had to know what lived beyond the flames. Captain Reyes stood in the war room aboard Titan's Wrath, eyes locked on the quiet blue planet below. Earth looked beautiful, peaceful, but something wasn't right. No lights blinked from the cities. No defense, drones patrolled orbit, no signal answered their hails. Still nothing, Reyes asked. Grimes shook his head. It's silent, as if Earth stopped listening. Dr. Velez leaned over the console. or it's afraid to speak. Return home, the fleet had survived the worst war the galaxy had ever known. The Varnic Queen was dead. Their hives destroyed. Dozens of species freed. But now, Earth, a world that sent the fire, was ignoring its own victory. Reyes gave the order, prepare the landing craft. I'm going down. Velez and Mason stood beside him. We all are, Mason said. No, Hero returns alone. Landing in silence, the shuttle touched down near what used to be Central Command, in the American Western Zone. The buildings were intact but dark. Don't know soldiers, don't know civilians. The streets were empty except for shadows moving behind shattered windows. Then, they heard it. A voice broadcast from hidden speakers across the city. Warning, unauthorized landing detected. If you are not scanned, do not proceed. Earth is under full quarantine. Do not trust anyone. Repeat, do not trust anyone. Discovery in the wasteland. The team moved carefully through ruined districts. They found survivors, but not as they remembered them. Some stood still, staring at the sky. Others murmured in sleep, their eyes wide open. Children whispered strange words in unison. Old humans walked in perfect lines, humming Varnic rhythms. They're not dead, said Velez, scanning one man. But something's inside. Varnic code, maybe fragments of the hive mind, could be leftovers from the war, Mason added. Or a seed they planted before they fell. Then they found the message, the hidden recording in an underground base, sealed with EMP locks. They discovered a message recorded by General Corrin, the last commander of Earth's defense. It played a static first, then cleared into a shaking voice. This is General Corrin. Earth fell, not from invasion, but infection. The Varnic are gone, but their echo stayed. It grew in silence. It spoke to our weak, promised safety. We locked it out of the networks. We sealed our cities. But people began to change anyway. If you hear this, Earth isn't home anymore, not yet. A new kind of war back aboard Titan's Wrath. Reyes gathered the fleet's leaders. Earth is compromised, he said. Not by Varnic bodies, but by their legacy. Velez added, thoughts, dreams, patterns. It's not possession, it's evolution. Mason stood up. Then we have two options. Burn everything, or fight for it. Reyes didn't speak for a long moment. Then he said quietly, we didn't answer the galaxy's call to become monsters. The cleansing begins using deep scan tech and psychic firewalls. Teams moved city to city. They found the infected. Some could be saved, cleansed by neural DAMPENERS. Others couldn't. Some were too far gone. Entire towns controlled by thought-patterns. In one city, a woman walked up to Mason and said calmly, you can't stop us. We live in the way you think. We are the silence between your thoughts. He shot her without a word. The signal Earth sent back once the cities were clear, once Earth began to breathe again. Captain Reyes recorded the final message, that it would be sent to every star. Every species, every system that once feared the Varnic and now waited to see what humanity would become. He stood before the camera in full uniform. Behind him, the Earth flag and the symbol of the Galactic Alliance. He began, this is Captain Reyes of Titan's Wrath. We answered the galaxy's call for help. We fought the enemy you feared. We burned their worlds. We crushed their god. And when we returned home, we found the war wasn't over. But we didn't run. We did what humans always do. We stood our ground. We cleansed our home. And now, we send this message to all who watch. If you scream for help, we will come. But understand this. We don't come with mercy. We come with fire. Final scene, a new dawn, a new sun rose over Earth. Cities began to rebuild. The infected were gone. The survivors remembered. Alien fleets arrived with gifts, thanks, and peace. The galaxy had learned something important. Humanity wasn't the strongest, or the smartest, but it was the one thing the Varnic couldn't consume: willpower. Reyes stood at the highest tower in New Geneva, looking up at the stars. We came when they called, he said, and now, we're ready. If they ever call again,